program tonight, we're going to look at some things pertaining to personal responsibilities, some things which the Bible teaches that we are to be able to stand on our own, having need of and lacking nothing. Please understand that is what God's plan and what God's desire is for you and me. I've said it many times before. I'll say it again. God created a world and He created a universe, and He did it for a reason. The world that He created, the universe that He created, and the people that He put here in this world to live in it, He bound them by certain and particular laws. God is the one who created the laws of physics. God is the one who created the laws of gravity. God is the one that created particular species that flies. He gave them wings. Everything else was grounded, and it was grounded by gravity. God made this gravity to where it works, to where it is a pulling and a drawing force. So if you climb up to the top of a building and you jump off, you're probably not going to fly upwards. You're probably not going to fly to safety. Christian or non-Christian, if you climb up a 6-story building and you jump off, you are probably going to die. If you jump off with a pistol in your hand, if you jump off with a book in your hand written by Adolf Hitler, or if you jump off of that 6-story building with a Bible in your hand, you are most likely going to die. One thing for sure, you will be going down because God created that law. God didn't make those laws for Him to interrupt them every time that you or I wanted Him to, and just make miracles happen every day and violate the laws that He created and then told us how to apply the laws and how to go by the laws and how to make the laws productive for us. He's not going to, because you decide to climb up on top of a building and jump off, He's not going to send an angel to just pick you up and lightly let you touch the ground. He's not going to let you sprout wings and fly in between the time that you jumped and the time that you hit. The forces are there. He created those forces. Does God intervene? He does, but He does for very, very special reasons. And they are called miracles when He does, and miracles are things that don't happen. Now, please understand, I don't mean that miracles don't happen. They do happen. But because miracles are things that don't happen, when they do happen, that's why they are a miracle. When you are led to believe that every time you go to an auditorium or to some preacher's service that there's going to be 1,900 miracles worked every time that preacher goes out, you are simply being fed a line of, spaghetti. You're not being told the truth. Miracles are like diamonds. Diamonds are rare stones. That's why you don't go out into your yard, Christian or non-Christian, and find diamonds, because they are precious stones. They're not just stones, they are precious stones. And so when you find one, you found something really, really special, and you can get you some good money for it, as opposed to a normal rock that you just find laying around in everybody's yard. The point of the business is that God created the universe. He made physical laws, created physical beings, and we are to abide by the rules and the laws of which He gave us. Then He gave us moral laws. The moral laws that God gave us was not laws to keep us from having fun. Really, they was to keep us from getting killed. You know, like, thou shalt not commit adultery. You'll find that your life will be much better in a whole lot of ways if you don't, and you stand a whole lot less chance of getting buried. You understand what I'm saying? The laws, the moral laws, the physical laws, we are beings here with responsibilities, and we have to fend for ourselves. We are commanded to do so. We are to command it. God may very well give us instructions, but Noah, you will have to drive the nails in that ark that you're going to build. God could just zap it into being, but no, sir. Noah drove those nails for more than 80 years building an ark that God could have snapped His finger and just made. God never intended that you and I forsake our personal responsibilities. Now, with that said, I want today, the day I'm actually doing the TV program, I understand that there was a vote throughout the government. Mike Pence, the Vice President now, cast the deciding vote, doing away with this business pertaining to abortion funding for those who wants to cut babies up and throw them in garbage cans. And so the states and the funding being forced upon us to fund the cutting up of babies and throwing them in garbage cans, it no longer applies, as did so under the pervert Barack Obama, who has no problems with cutting up babies and throwing them in garbage cans.
Thank you, Planned Parenthood. God bless you. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. God bless you. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. God bless you.
The pervert Barack Obama, who had no problems whatsoever with two men getting married.
You will see a time in which we as a nation finally recognize relationships between two men or two women as just as real and admirable as relationships between a man and a woman.
And even painted the White House with the lights in the rainbow colors. Barack Obama, who had no problems whatsoever, the perverted Barack Obama, who had no trouble whatsoever signing into law or attempting to force us to allow a man who says today, well, I feel like a woman. And so he can go in, because he feels like a woman, he can go into the bathroom with your daughter. The perverted, the sick wackos of which has had power in this country, and the damage of which they have done is not done yet, trust me. Nonetheless, I wanted to explain to you and address what we may call the progressive, the liberal, the socialist, the Democrat. Again, as I always say, I'm not involved in politics. I don't do political TV shows. You hadn't heard me say a word about the health care bill and all of the wranglings. Well, go handle that. What I deal with is I deal with biblical perversions. I deal with biblical crimes. I deal with human beings that has no business whatsoever being shielded, able to make laws and pass laws to put men in my granddaughter's bathroom, in a public bathroom. Let a man go in a public bathroom with mine or your daughters. That is the perversion of which I'm talking about. I cannot help it if they call themselves progressives, liberals, Democrats, or socialists. I cannot help it if they are politicians. That does not put a shield around them that makes them untouchable, and we're not supposed to speak on them because it's politics. No, it's wickedness is what it is. And that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're dealing with now. I want to go back to the issue of personal responsibility, and I want to address these people who seem to come unhinged. If they don't get their way, they seem to come unhinged. You have seen plenty of it. Now, concerning this issue pertaining to abortion funds, the states and the people no longer being forced to pay for someone else's abortion. Just to make it clear for those of which call themselves the things I just made mention of, before you have some kind of a fit, please understand this, that abortion is still legal. It has nothing to do with you having the right to go and cut a baby up and throw it in a garbage can. You still have that right, okay? What you don't have the right to do is make me pay for you cutting that baby up and throwing it in a garbage can. In other words, it's like this. If you decide to have, well, let's say relations with somebody, if you decide to commit fornication, if you desire to have acts with people, and you become impregnated, it's then your responsibility, and of course, the one who aided you in the creation of that baby, if you even know who he is. It is y'all's responsibility now, and it is your responsibility now to take care of what you have done. Now, against my beliefs. You have within the field of rights and your rights, you have the right to go and get the baby that's inside you poisoned. They'll shoot a needle up behind his little neck and shoot poison in his head and fry it. And then they'll pull it out, and if they pull legs off, pull arms off, or whatever the case may be that they oftentimes do, and then put it in a bag and throw it out in a dumpster. You have that right. It's against my belief. It's against my standards, 100%. And I think that you'll face God in the judgment because, see, it is a human being. It's not a blob of tissue. It really isn't. It's something that has a beating heart, you see. It has a heart beating. And every time it goes in and the sperm and the egg meet together, the instant formation of what takes place as it works out always comes out to be a living, breathing human being. Never comes out to be anything else. So going in and coming out, it's a human being. The beginning stages are the beginning stages of a human being. The last stages of the pregnancy is the last stage of a human being. You can't get to the last stage without having the beginning stage. You mess up the stages from beginning, middle to end, anywhere along the line, and you don't have a human being come out the other end. So see, at the very beginning, all the way to the very end, what's working inside you, what's growing inside you, and what's living inside you is what always comes out of you. A child, a baby. Nonetheless, the abortion now funding being cut off simply means that if you want to do that, you need to figure out a way to do it yourself. Now listen, it could be expensive, but understand, without being harsh or being, I have responsibilities here myself, and you deciding to have relations with somebody unprotected, throwing out all caution, is not my responsibility. It's not my place to pay for it. It's not my place to support it. See, you being a liberal, socialist, progressive, a Democrat, maybe I need to break this down to you because it does not seem that in most cases in that circle of people that the brain is even a work in progress. Now, you do know what makes babies, don't you? You do know the act that creates life. You do know that if you have relations with a man, that's how it's done. That's how you make a baby. You do understand that, don't you? Well, if you do understand that, then you understand that if you are doing this without protection, without a very cheap pill, a birth control pill, some may agree or disagree with that. I certainly agree with that before I agree with cutting it up and throwing it in the garbage can. But the birth control pill is not really all that expensive. There are other means. There are condoms that's readily available. And the man of which you are going to have your relationship with, well, you should be worth him spending the $3, $5, whatever it is. You should be worth that. Now, if you don't do any of that, you have chose now to do what makes a baby. You chose to do it. Now, if a little baby starts growing inside you, it is not my concern, it is not my business, because I have a family, I have medical bills, my family has medical bills, and I am not to be taxed and taking my money so that you can go to an abortion clinic and have a baby with a heartbeat, have a needle stuck in the back of his head, and his brains burned out, and then him pulled out with what amounts to pliers and thrown in a garbage can. It's not my responsibility. So before you go bonkers and have a fit, of which they will, please understand, this is personal responsibilities. There are ways in which you can prevent the dilemma. There are ways of which you can prevent the whole thing from taking place. So if you choose to have unprotected relations, if you choose to take no safeguards whatsoever to prevent a baby from forming inside you, and if you've got enough sense to realize that you don't become impregnated by eating certain foods, that there is a particular act involved in it, that it is your responsibility and the fella who helped you form the baby once again, if you know who he is, where he lives, or maybe even what his name might be. Bottom line is try not to go bonkers and lose your cool. Progressive, liberal, Democrat, socialist. It's your fault and your responsibility and yours alone. Now, the second thing that I want to address is the insanity that revolves around this immigration issue. Now, we won't go through all the graphic details of the stupidity of a person that doesn't see some benefit in putting a wall up to stop people from bringing their criminals in. And understand that that is exactly what they're doing. You see, most of the countries that send their people here will not take their people back. Now, 1 and 1, still 2. You know why they won't take them back? They won't take them back because they know who they're sending this way. They are opening their jails, and they are taking their criminals. And they are, not every single one of them, but large numbers. These surrounding countries are taking their criminals and the worst of their society and shooting them to the U.S. border. That is to say, we will not have to put them in jail. We will not have to feed them. We will not have to tend to their crime. They will no longer be a financial burden to our country. Just let them go to America. That's why when we catch them, this whole long list of countries that says it is our policy, we will not take our citizens back. Now, the reason for this is very clear and very simple. They don't want them back because they sent them to free themselves of them. In many cases, that's not every single case, but in large numbers, that's what they're doing. We don't want to go through the whole ordeal again of telling you that if a man with a backpack comes to your door and knocks on your door and says, I'm staying with you tonight and I want to be fed tonight, take a bath tonight, and I want to sleep in your house tonight. And you say to him, who are you? Well, as I've explained to you before, that's called vetting. Democrat, socialist, liberal, progressive, that's called vetting. You know, what you would say if the backpack man was at your door. Who are you? And then, as I mentioned in another program, if he went on and forced his way in, you'd grab your phone and immediately dial 911. That's called extreme vetting. Liberal, socialist, Democrat, progressive, that's called extreme vetting, and it's what you would do. So, we'll forsake the drawn-out conversations about the insanity of protecting the borders or not protecting the borders. And look at one of the things that has the American people stirred up, that happens over and over and over and over. I hold in my hand here a piece of paper that tells us that the USA-themed clothing worn by Valley High School students, this is a high school in Iowa, at one of their ball games, was deemed taboo that it might offend the refugees on the opposing team. The students were made to apologize for their outrageous apparel. You see, this is what one of the major problems is in the United States. Here is a high school in the United States of America whose students wore a U.S. flag or a hat with red, white, and blue on it. And it's deemed by American officials to be outrageous clothing, and that the person that wore it will need to apologize for foreigners who has come into our country, into our land, now determining that we cannot wave a flag, wear a hat with a flag on it. It is absolute nonsense. And what is it? What could this possibly be about? That we are now being penalized, criminalized. We're being fined for flying flags in communities whereby we live. For our children being forced, in schools in America being forced to apologize for wearing the American apparel. No, see, there's something more than just the loving, godly, sympathizing, caring about the foreigner coming into our country that's being promoted by these lying, evil, wicked people who call themselves socialist, liberal, Democrat, and progressives. There's something much more, something much deeper involved in this matter. The Bible tells us that the foreigner will possess your land in your presence. It's a form of judgment. What you're seeing now is not the loving, caring for those who may be troubled and in need of aid and support. No. Now, if that was the case, then wearing an American flag in America wouldn't be criminalized or something we needed to apologize for. No. You see, what they are doing and what they want to do is they want to dissolve America. This is part of the New World Order. Now, we stayed off of this subject, stayed off of it for years and years and years and years for a whole lot of different reasons. But the fact that a world order has been established is a clear living fact, my friend. There's no two ways about that. All this stuff that anybody who makes mention of a new world order, which is Antichrist government. And understand, Antichrist government is in the belly of these lawless ones that call themselves liberals, Democrats, socialists, and progressives. The Democrat in the United States right now in America is the womb that's bearing the Antichrist. And if we believe in abortion at all, that's the one that needs aborted. Because what this is all about is changing the history of this country. It is changing the national pride, or eliminating the national pride of this country. It is eliminating the borders of this country. And whenever Britain removed itself from the European common market just a few months back, all of a sudden this word that anyone who uses it is some kind of conspiracy freak. All of a sudden the entire news media, papers, television news, all you heard, this is a major blow to, quote, the New World Order. Then followed up by the election of Donald Trump. Same thing through all the papers. The New World Order that we've been told is nothing but conspiracy.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
Now, worldwide media, governments, that this is a major blow to the world order. That's what all this business is about concerning immigration. That's what these Democrat, liberal, socialist, progressives, that's what the plan has been. They're far, far along into this plan. That's why you're becoming criminals to fly flags of your country, in your country, to wear apparel representing your country, in your country. The point now is you barely have a country. And if they had their wishes and if they had their way, America would cease to exist tomorrow, and along with it, Christianity. For Christianity is what made America And Christianity is the only thing that kept America alive and the only thing that will. And these devils in political garb who pretends to be caring, loving souls, who in fact are nothing but clouds without rain, are destroyers and deceivers. They are slanderers, which are all of the names in the Bible given to the devil himself. This bunch today that has been in political power, the Obamas, the political left, lawless. And the Bible said the Antichrist was the lawless one. Now, the Democratic Party in the United States is the womb of which the Antichrist is being birthed in. We need to abort this mission.
I'd like to take a load off of you. Just put it on my back and I'll carry it too. You look like you could use a day or two. Get yourself some rest now, and while you do, I'll carry that load for you. Now all of these troubles they're not yours alone. You my brothers and my sisters, and this is our home. Won't you take yourself a day or two and get yourself some rest now, and while you do, I'll carry that load for you. Oh, that's the way it should be. I help you and you help me. We got to live as brothers. We got to have some love one toward another. I'd like to take a load off of you. Just put it on my back and now I'll carry it too. You look like you could use a day or two. Get yourself some rest now, and while you do, I'll carry that